Welcome to Comics with Dan. This is the Comics Commute number 26. A few weeks back, I had an episode where I wasn't actually on my commute, and that is also the case here. This is a strange week for the Comics Commute because I have been at the beach over the past week, so I've not read very much. And I don't have any pulls on my pull list this week, which doesn't normally happen, but every once in a while when you get the months that have 5 Wednesdays in them, it happens. So there's not a ton coming out this week in general, but I don't have anything at all. So I have a huge week next week. So that'll be exciting. But what I did read this past week was I read a little bit of Sandman when I was at the beach. Not a lot, just a couple issues of that first book. It's getting better, honestly, in my opinion. It started out and I could tell that it was good, but I wasn't amazed by it. So I'm excited where that's going. I read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 1, my first mainline Ninja Turtles pull, so that was kind of cool. I read Void Rivals number 11, and I read No One number 10. Those were all pulls from last week that I read. So we go to Wildwood, New Jersey, and so on the boardwalk at Wildwood there is a collectibles store. I believe it's called What's Going On, something like that. But it's on the boardwalk, and they have a very, very small selection of comics. It's like 2 short boxes that aren't even filled. Most of them, strangely enough, are Valiant comics. I didn't pick up any of those, but I did manage to get a copy of Wildcats number 2, Wildcats number 3, and Cyberforce number 1. A couple of Image books there. Cyberforce is always weird because I don't know how high quality I would say that it is, but it just has that 90s sort of charm to it. I've got something of a soft spot for it just because I went and read that entire collected edition of all the Cyberforce, the original Cyberforce books. So I don't love it, but I also sort of have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 1. I wrote a review on League of Comic Geeks on this, so there's a little more detail there. But I normally like the goofier Turtles, you know, the 80s, 90s, and 2000s cartoons. Although the 2000s cartoon got a little more serious, but obviously the movies, right? The live action movies from the late 80s, early 90s. I love those, and so those are some of my favorite iterations, and that's not what this was. I kind of knew that going in, though, both because Jason Aaron is writing, and although he just wrote Scrooge McDuck, generally speaking, he's not putting out that more goofy comedic stuff. But then also Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Alpha, that showed what the tone of this book was going to be. And so when I started reading it, I was just like a little put off by like how edgy and dark it was. But by the end of it, I really liked it, just because Jason Aaron and Joelle Jones they're just so good. Like, they put together such a good comic that I can't even be mad that it's not the exact type of turtle story that I want. So definitely recommend it. It's a really good story. This issue 1 features Raphael only. I think it was announced before that each of the first 4 issues was going to focus on each one of the turtles. So this first one was Raph, and it was really well done. I'm really anxious and excited to see when they link back up together again, because I'll be reading this and I'll be reading Night Watcher. I don't think I'm going to read Mutant Nation though. I've got to cut the pull list off somewhere, and that one didn't make the cut. So, but yeah, Ninja Turtles #1 was good. I'm excited to see where it goes. Leonardo is probably my favorite turtle, and I believe he will be the third of the 4 to get his own issue. So I'm really looking forward to that one. But Michelangelo's next, so we'll see how that goes. So I also read Void Rivals #11, which was another great issue. A lot of action in this one. We get to see, I think that we're coming to the close of this particular arc with Durak and Salila. There's some really great dialogue in this one. Durak's talking to Salila about how she keeps saying, my people and your people, and he's just like, are we not past that at this point? Are after what we've seen, are we still calling them your people and my people? It's like we found out we're the same, and for whatever reason, what's kept our people split and fighting has been fabricated, and we need to figure out why. So, this is sort of that call to action. I mean, obviously they've had that call to action this whole time, but this is where it's clearly laid out that they're going to make their way to figuring out what's going on. It seems like Springer and Hot Rod are going to have really big roles in this, which is cool. I'm glad that, I don't like for these collected universes to be too closely tied together to where you have to read all the books to enjoy it. But I definitely want there to be some intertwining, and I think that Void Rivals is doing that perfectly, because it's not overly important what's happening in Transformers. If you know the basic plot, then you know what's going on. But just having a couple Transformers in the Void Rivals books, apart from the Jetfire appearance in issue #1, it's it's cool to have that sort of intertwining and that crossover. I read No One #10, which was the final issue of one of my favorite series over the past few years. Really just awesome. It ended in a way that I really liked, because we don't find out who No One is. They say that they know, but it's not very convincing, considering that I'm pretty sure we saw Harris and Gill and No One together, and it doesn't add up. I think that's the point. I also love the fact that the issue ends with, instead of the end, it says the beginning, which is really exciting. On top of that, the big announcement at San Diego Comic-Con, which I knew it would be, was No One related. I guess they're coming out with a documentary about it. I think it's going to be live action too, which I'm going to be honest, I'm going to need Patton Oswalt to play Teddy from the Pittsburgh Ledger. Otherwise, I just don't know that it's going to work out for me. After hearing him in the podcast, that's just when I see Teddy in the comic, I hear Patton's voice. So I really hope that he gets him. And we'll see where this documentary goes. It's cool because we have the comic, and then the podcast intertwines with the comic, and now we're gonna have a documentary that intertwines with those. It's just that they're just taking all of these different things and putting them together. I'm really excited for it. I love what they're doing over there at Black Market Narrative. So I'm hyped about it. This is a cool corner of the Massiverse for sure. So I'm not gonna talk much about what I have coming up. I will be using this next week to balance out my budget, which is good because a huge list coming August 7th. and then I will also be reading some library books that I'm not caught up on. It'll be Sandman, Three Jokers by Jeff Johns. I'll be working on a video about the origin of Superman and the various different stories that encapsulate that origin, which I'm really excited. I'm really excited about that project that I'm working on. So those are sort of things to keep an eye out for, since I don't have any pulls that I'm going to be picking up today. Last week's Comics Commute trivia question was, which turtle broke out of prison in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Alpha? The answer was Donatello, which is interesting because in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, Raphael breaks out of prison. So I am wondering if there's a trend here, and maybe there's something that I missed at the end of the previous run because I didn't read it. So if anyone has that context, that'd be great. The Comics Commute question this week is going to be related to announcements regarding DC Comics in the Absolute Universe. The question here is, which writer and artist creative team is going to be writing a New Gods / Darkseid book for the Absolute Universe and DC All In this upcoming fall? If you follow me on Twitter, you'll have seen that I have babbled on about it nonstop because I guessed it properly. So this should be a fairly easy one to lay up, if you will. So make sure you enter the answer on the website. I'm going to be extending the giveaway, so make sure that you get your answer in. You can win a copy of New Mutants number 87, first appearance of Cable, second printing. So not a super valuable book, but a really cool one to have in your collection, I would say. So I think that's all I had. This is a shorter one this week because it's not actually a commute, and because I'm working from home. So make sure you like the video, make sure that you subscribe, check out my other videos here, and thank you for watching.